All right, Alexandra, let's talk about this Bloomberg article with the title Saudi Arabia says they're open to settling trade in other currencies. And this is getting quite a lot of talk and discussion around this article. The fact that Saudi Arabia is open to settling outside of the USD. We have a whole lot of other countries that are settling trade outside of the USD right now and are working on big trade deals with each other outside of the USD. Russia, India, Iran, China, Russia. I mean, it's happening, and it's happening a lot faster thanks to the policies, I would say, thanks to the policies of Joe Biden. What do you think?
Absolutely. Now, this isn't just Bloomberg reporting this. It's not just, some reporter coming along and writing this story, which would be interesting in itself. This is an interview given to Bloomberg by a Saudi minister. He's actually gone on record and saying that Saudi Arabia is absolutely prepared from now on to accept payment in any currency that is appropriate. And he mentioned the euro, he mentioned the dollar, but he also mentioned the Chinese currency, the RMB. And that's the key one, because of course we had Xi Jinping coming to Saudi Arabia a short time ago. He had a meeting with MBS and other members of the Saudi court. He also, of course, met a lot of the other leaders of the Arab world and of the Gulf states, who are still the core of OPEC. He's got excellent relations, of course, with the Russians. So you see that the Chinese are now maneuvering to fill the place that the US used to fill as being, the big oil importer, paying for oil in its currency. And the Saudis are going along with it. And I don't think it's just going to be the RMB, by the way, because there's growing talk. It's now just been confirmed by South Africa that the BRICS states are now working on their own payment systems, including, I gather, an alternative to SWIFT, a new reserve currency, all of that. Now, we've talked about this before in programs, that this seems to be the direction of travel with the Saudis. We've now had confirmation of that from a top Saudi minister, a member of the Saudi government, and he's come out in public. He's clearly been given the green light to say it, and he said this in an interview with Bloomberg. So the days of the petrodollar are coming to an end, and the petrodollar was an essential element in the fact that the dollar had reserve currency status, because it's still the case that the most important, widely traded commodity is oil. No modern industrial economy can function without oil. So if you want to build up your economy, if you want to run your industries, you have to have oil. And if up to now you had to pay for that oil in dollars, that obliged you to keep dollars in your central bank and other reserve accounts. If you can pay for your oil in other currencies, then you don't need to have dollars anymore, and the reserve currency status of the dollar therefore comes into question. So this is big news, and it's very big news that the Saudis are now coming out and saying it openly.
What other big deals are you anticipating in 2023?
Right. The two big deals, and the giant ones, are between China and Saudi Arabia. I mean, and this is now clearly working its way through. We're probably going to see a huge trade deal coming. It's highly likely Saudi Arabia will join the BRICS before very long. They're trying to work their way towards doing so. So this is on the way. The other big trade deal that's coming is India-Russia. And interestingly, it's the Indians here who are making the real running. They've come up with a huge list of items of export goods that they want to be able to export to Russia, all the way up to our AI, top electronic and that kind of product, software, those sort of things. And they want to team up with the Russians on all of those sort of things. And they want that trade to be in rubles and rupees. So again, outside the dollar. So those two are the big ones: China, Saudi Arabia, India, Russia. But there are other lesser ones happening at the same time. Russia, Iran. I mean, that may seem less, but potentially it's a big one, but that's definitely on the way. Russia, Turkey, and that's also a big one. And presumably China will be involved at some level with all of those too. And of course, at some point, once the summit meeting that's been talked about between the two leaders happens, potentially Saudi Arabia, Iran. I mean, that may be some way off in the distance, but there's now increasing talk that MBS is now looking for a meeting with Iran's president, Ebrahim Raisi, and that this is on the way as well.
The Biden White House really accelerated de-dollarization. I mean, it was bound to happen.
Yes.
Okay, the dollar was going to be used less and less, but I was thinking 30 years, 40 years in the future.
Yes.
I mean, Biden took that 30 years in the future and turned it into 2 or 3 more years.
Yes, I agree.
It's
absolutely
incredible what the damage is done.
Absolutely. The other thing to say about this is that it's not just that he's accelerated it, giving the United States, by the way, little time to adapt to this change, but he's also doing it in a way that he's also brought it about. It's going to happen in a way that has now a clear anti-American agenda behind it. I mean, it could have happened organically. More and more trade goes on between other countries. Those countries say to themselves, well, we don't really need the dollar so much anymore. And gradually, over time, they start to shift as their economies evolve. Might not have been specifically an anti-American thing. What Biden has done is, because he's tried to use the dollar, US dollar, dominance, the reserve position of the dollar, as an instrument of economic war, he's scared the rest of the world, the Chinese, the Indians, the Russians, the Saudis, everybody. And they say to themselves, well, look, we can't use the dollar because it isn't safe. So they're now not only going out of the dollar, but they're doing it with an agenda to protect themselves from the United States. And that is almost by definition an anti-American agenda.
Okay, we will end it there at theduran.locals.com. Also look for us on Rockfin and the Duran Shop. 10% off. Use the code GOODDAY. Take care.